You've heard of bacon, and you've probably heard of cannoli, that Italian pastry dessert. Well, today I'm going to put those two things together because we're going to be making bacon cannoli with a cream cheese pepper filling. So this is almost like a jalapeno popper ripped apart and shoved in a cannoli shell made of bacon. That's about the best way I can describe it. Well, let's get started with our bacon. Now I've got several pieces of a pretty thick cut bacon here. You can use any kind of bacon you want. The key is when we're cooking this in the oven, because that's how we're doing it today, to bake it to get that shape, that cannoli shape, you're cooking it until it's to the crispness that you want. It's going to be crisper than I usually like because I want it to hold the shape. And that's what this is about, making these bacon cannoli shells. So let's take a piece of bacon here, and we're going to use some standard cannoli forms. These are just little metal tubes tapered on each end, and if you squeeze them, they collapse a bit. It makes getting the cannoli or the bacon off a little easier. We're just going to take this, and we are going to wrap it. Just like that. Let's do another one. Start. Just wrap. It's hard to get the taper on that end like the cannoli pastry, like this, because the bacon doesn't want to bend that way, but that's okay. We just need a nice shell to mimic a cannoli shell. There we go. And I'm going to put these on a baking rack here, on a rim baking sheet, and I want that last little piece to be on the bottom, that end of it, so that it won't open up as it cooks. This is super simple. And these cannoli forms, you can get them into baking shops, you can get them on Amazon. I'll put a link in the video description to where I got them. I think I bought like 20 of them. I didn't realize I was buying 20 of them. Came in a box. So now these are going to go into my oven, which is preheated to 400 degrees. I'm going to check them after 15 minutes, but I'm almost certain they won't be done. And this is really about how your oven cooks. When I've done these before, they can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 28 minutes. You got to get these crisp enough, crisper than I would normally like. They're not going to be AFS, acceptable floppy state. If they're like that, they're just going to collapse as you take the forms off, and they're not going to hold the shape for the filling. So these do need to be that crispy bacon consistency. So we're going to get these in the oven, and we'll check them in 15 minutes just to be sure. And then about every 5 minutes after that, you'll know when it's getting close into that crispiness that we need. All right, we will check those in 15 minutes, but I'm 99.99% sure it's going to take longer, probably at least another 10 minutes beyond that, but I like to check. And for your oven, you should check too. Some ovens run hotter than others, some run colder, so you really just got to watch it. All right, we've been going 15 minutes now. Let's check these bacon cannolis. I'm sure they're not done yet. Let's see, yeah, still pretty moist there. What I am going to do though is I'm going to turn my pan. Give it a 180-degree turn. Let's close this up. Let these keep going. We'll check them in 8 minutes. All right, we've been going for 23 minutes total now. Let's check our bacon cannoli. Oh, it's looking good. But I can still tell it's not quite crispy enough yet. Almost, maybe a couple more minutes. So I'm going to let those go a couple more minutes, and I'll bring you back when they're out of the oven, show you that so that they can cool down. Here they are, our bacon cannoli shells. Total of 25 minutes, and these need to cool down completely now. So probably 30 to 45 minutes. I'm just going to set these aside. They're going to chill out, and we're going to move on to making our filling. So for our filling, we're going to be using a whipped cream cheese. That makes it nice and smooth and easy to get into these bacon cannoli shells. But we're also going to be adding some peppers. I've got a red bell pepper for some sweetness and mildness, a couple jalapenos, and a couple serranos. So I'm just going to go ahead and chop these up. And I'm clearly not going to use all this for the stuffing. There's not enough room in those bacon cannoli shells. When I do something like this, these just go in a bag in the refrigerator for a salad later. There we go, our jalapeno, our serrano, and our red bell. Let's get our whipped cream cheese out here and make this filling. So I'm starting with 12 ounces of whipped cream cheese. As I mentioned before, this makes it easier when you're actually doing the filling. And I'm using my pastry filling gizmo tube thing today, so this is going to be nice. I'm going to give this, I don't know, a tablespoon or so red peppers, tablespoon or so of jalapenos, and same of the serranos. Let's mix this together. Get everybody incorporated. Get those peppers distributed throughout. And if you don't want this to be a hot filling, you can leave out any of the hot peppers you want and add anything you want. So what's nice about this is you can put whatever you want in here. You can load it up with heat or make it really mild. You want it a little sweeter? Add a little mascarpone cheese. Add a little bit more here, a little more red, a little more green. You could also make this a very herby filling, adding basil, oregano. I wanted to sort of mimic the idea of a bacon-wrapped jalapeno popper by just sort of deconstructing it and turning it into a cannoli. All right, that looks good. Let's get our bacon cannoli shells over here because they are cool. So here is one of our bacon cannolis. Now, it's still on the form, and I'm going to take it off here, and when you do this, you do want to be careful. You don't want to just slam it and pull it and everything like that, but if you press the form together here, it starts to loosen up. And if you just grip around there and twist, you just gently turn. And there we go, a bacon cannoli shell. I'm gonna get the rest of them off their forms, and then we're gonna fill these. All right, so I have 5 of my bacon cannoli shells here because when I was taking one of them off, it kind of cracked in half, and so I had a snack. And I'm just going to use my pastry filler. I've also used this to fill manicotti. Let's fill these. We'll check the other side. We got good filling. Do another one. And if you keep your pinky finger at the other end of this here, it helps block it from falling out. Now what I want to do is dress these up a little bit with some of those leftover bits of peppers we had. Just add a little bit of color at the ends, just like that. I'm going to finish kind of decorating the rest of these because it's time to taste. Now, one thing I did forget to do, but it's not necessary, but you can do it because there's a little bit of heat in this, is brush the outside with a little maple syrup just before you serve it. I didn't want to get everything messy right now, and it's going to taste fine without it, but go ahead and do that if you want to. But let's try one here. Here we go. You totally get that jalapeno popper flavor from the filling and the jalapeno pieces in there, but you're biting into a crispy bacon shell. This is cannoli. And this is really what cooking should be about, having fun, doing something a little different like this that tastes great. So with an hour or less of your time, some bacon, some cream cheese, some jalapenos, some other peppers, you can have bacon cannoli that tastes like a jalapeno popper. But it looks amazing because it's different, and it tastes amazing because it's bacon wrapped around it all. This is in the top 5 of anything I've ever made.